Hey, good morning, guys. We are in day 332 in our Bible reading plan, Hebrews 7 through 9 and Psalm 119, 1 through 56. We're going to be working through the Psalm 119, longest psalm of Scripture, in the next few days. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Today's big idea from Hebrews is that because Jesus died as a substitute for you and me, we have been given a better hope in which we can draw near to the heart of God. This idea that we can draw near to God is something that really is explosive, so that whatever you're facing today, knowing the truths of Hebrews should give us the confidence to come to God with our difficulties, with our impossible situations, with our unexpected turns in life. We have an advocate, and the stronger you understand the truth of Hebrews, the more you can live in the freedom of hanging on to hope, not because we're wishful thinkers, not because we hope that God will hear our prayers and everything might turn out all right, but because we have an advocate sitting at the right hand of God making intercessions for us. And so in today's reading, we're going to see that. We're going to see that Jesus is a better priest. He offers a better covenant, and he is a better sacrifice. He is the best sacrifice. And so starting with chapter 7, there's this comparison with Melchizedek. If you can take your minds all the way back to the beginning of our time together in Genesis, there was an episode in Genesis where Abraham comes back from war, and he offers a sacrifice to Melchizedek, who is considered the highest priest, and he gives him a tenth of all the spoils. And that king of Salem, king of peace, was a kind of a picture of Jesus Christ, but Jesus is even better than Melchizedek. And so we'll see that comparison in verses 11 on. He's a better hope that allows us to draw near to God. And so we kind of have reference to that story there. And so Jesus is both priest and he is making intercession for us in a way that even Melchizedek could not. He's both king and priest. Melchizedek was considered to be a king of Salem, but Jesus is higher than that. And then because of that, in verse 22, he is the guarantor of a better covenant. And so we see this language in verse 25, that he is able to save to the uttermost those who come to God, since he always lives to make intercession for them. And then he has no need, in verse 27, like those high priests, to offer sacrifices daily, because once for all he did it by offering himself. And so that moves us into chapter 8, where we're told that we have a high priest who is seated at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven. That is the God that allows us to come into his presence through Christ. And so in chapter 8, we see that we start talking about the difference between the old covenant and new covenant, and there's this language of how he puts his law in our hearts and our minds. We can change and be transformed. And in verse 13, in speaking of a new covenant, he makes the first one obsolete, and now we are in new spaces where we can come to God and actually expect him to transform us. And then we get to chapter 9, and this is great language from verses 11 on of how Christ offers himself. And because he offers himself, by the way, do not minimize the fact that Christ's shedding of the blood is important for the forgiveness of sin. It's right there in verse 22 of chapter 9. A lot of people argue about that in seminaries. There's no room for argument. He gave himself so that we wouldn't have to. And we finish on a big note: just as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment, so Christ, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time, not to deal with sin, but to save those who are eagerly waiting for him. That's me. And if that's you, press the like button. Come back tomorrow. Know that you are loved. Take care.